There are students who are considered English learners. That means students who are learning English. And those students all speak a different language, or sometimes more than one language at home. And this is seen as kind of a deficit. It's seen that these students often need extra help. They often need, it's often hard to communicate with parents. And especially in rural and underserved communities, this is seen very poorly. I've actually heard things like teachers telling parents not to speak their home language, and that, we're in America, and so the students need to learn English and only speak in English, things like that. But what does the research really show about this? So the research shows that if students come to school and they speak another language, if the students can conquer English learning, they actually outperform their peers. They're actually it's a real advantage to speak another language. So if a student comes, let's say, in kindergarten, and maybe they stay in English language services for just a few years, generally it's realistic that these students can become fluent in English by about 5 to 7 years, the research shows. So by the time that student gets in middle school, if they have passed through the English language program, and that student actually outperforms their peers who only speak English, because there are a lot of cognitive benefits to speaking another language. There's research that shows that it's very good for the brain. Students, especially if they speak a Latin-based language like Spanish or French, can often use one language to help them learn the other. And then, of course, there's the social and the communicative aspect of speaking a second language. In a global world, if a student can speak more than English, that student has a huge advantage when it comes to communicating, when it comes to the business world, when it comes to study, travel. That student can do a lot more than someone who just speaks English. Unfortunately, in U.S. schools today, that number of students who do well and eventually place out of the system, it's not as large as we would. There are still many students who struggle academically, who are learning English, and there are students who just don't do well academically. And there's a huge achievement gap in ability, generally for English learners and students who are not English learners. It's about between 25 and 40 points on the NAEP score, which is about the same as students who have disabilities. So in other words, students who are learning English do about the same as students who may have some mild learning disabilities at school. So it's not good. And so why is that? So I'm going to talk about that in the next video. So if you're interested, please stay tuned. So if you're interested in educational policy, global education, please like and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Keep learning.